I want to sell, but what do I do? Where do I start? So I think it's best to first start by what not to do. So before I jump into this list, a quick reminder, as we just learned, we are in a very unique market. I tried to build the presentation to be general enough that I can use it no matter what the market looks like. And it can be applicable to anyone attending today who might not be ready to sell until next year or even the year after that. So I'll be talking mostly in generalizations, and you will often hear me say throughout this presentation, but in today's market, et cetera, et cetera. So you understand that this is general advice, but in today's market, I would advise you do X instead of Y. So actually, we're going to go back because somebody had a question. What does 1.2 months of supply mean? A very good question. Thank you for asking that. Again, I could say things, as I said, stop me anytime if I say something that's more, jargony, that, is industry talk, I guess. 1.2 months of supply means that if no homes hit the market today, moving forward, it would take us 1 month, 1.2 months to be specific, to completely run out of homes to sell. So again, typically on a more balanced market, you're looking at 3 to 4 months of supply. So if no homes hit the market, you're going to be okay for another 3 to 4 months. But yeah, right now it's very low. So seeing anything in the earlier this year, having inventory at 0.9, having it under 1 month. I mean, if no homes listed, we would be out of inventory in, 3 to 4 weeks. So that's historically low, and we are still historically low even at 1.2. That basically means it is a crazy seller's market. There is not enough inventory to go around for the amount of buyers that are currently in this market trying to take advantage of the low interest rates. So thank you for asking that. If you could actually send me your actual name, your name is not coming up for some reason, who just asked that question. Okay, so thank you again. Any questions that come up, feel free to type it in the box. Okay, so jumping into this list, top things not to do. Do not rely on online estimators or neighbors' opinions for home value. Of course, your neighbors don't really know, but your Zillow is obviously a very popular tool that a lot of homeowners use. There is information that is readily available at your fingertips with these online platforms, and there's estimates that homeowners feel that a lot of the times they feel they already know what their home is worth. And one of my favorite news articles is the CEO of Zillow sold his house for 40% less than his own estimate. So that just is like a case in point, that these estimates are really just an online algorithm that is typically not correct. So granted, that was in 2016 that happened, but either way, it is not accurate. They may not factor in the market condition and the actual condition and desirability of your home itself. There's just no internet algorithm that can do that. Plus, with a market that is changing so quickly, there's likely several homes under contract, which means it's no longer active. They have accepted an offer, they're under contract, but the home hasn't closed yet. So it's not officially in the hands of the next buyer. And legally, once it changes from being under contract to closed, once it's closed, the closed price is what's advertised. And that's only what Zillow is using. But there's a lot of under contracts that frankly we're using more. And Zillow can't take that into consideration. So as a local agent, I may be able to find out the price that is anything that's under contract. I can try to find out what the contract is for just by simply picking up the phone and calling the listing agent or the buyer's agent of that particular home. So that's a real-time comparable to determine a more accurate market value. So the absolute best way to determine the value of your home is for a local realtor to tour the home and perform a comparative market analysis. That is a free service that any local realtor can provide for you. Market values are typically determined by analyzing the data of homes that have sold within the last 6 months in your neighborhood or within a half-a-mile radius of your home if you're not in a particular neighborhood. And they have to have similar square footage, bed bath count, lot size, condition of the interior and exterior, and then any additional features that can add value, such as a garage, fireplace, bonus room, deck or patio, a basement, and then whether it's finished or unfinished, whether it has a pool above ground or in ground, and the condition of that, if it has central air, the lot characteristics, view, is it on a close proximity to a main road, or is there a highway in the backyard? So these are all things that are taken into consideration when determining your market value. So again, since the market is changing so quickly, oftentimes in this market, we take homes that are under contract into higher consideration when evaluating the price of a home. So in the past, homes, we would really sit down and only look at the homes that had closed. So we know the exact price of when, of what they closed for. But now it's a different animal since the market is changing so drastically. So if a home closed 30 to 60 days ago or more, it may no longer be a valid comparable if the values are rising so quickly, and that is the case in certain areas. Okay, so the second thing not to do is to make a substantial upgrade without first talking to an experienced agent. So there's nothing worse than spending $15,000 on a deck update or upgrade or replacing windows just to make your home, just because you think it will make your home more sellable, only to find out that it would have probably sold for the same price regardless, and you'll just never get that investment back. So before you make any expensive improvement, have a realtor come to your home and do a CMA, tell him or her what you're planning to do, and then they'll advise whether it will be worth the investment or not. So I'll say in this current market that 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a no. And we'll talk more about that in the next slide. Do not try to hide latent defects. So it's not a good practice to try to hide any issues with your home. Buyers have a due diligence period built into the contract to get any type of inspection that they choose. So that's at minimum a regular home inspection and a termite inspection. They can also do a radon test, mold inspections, structural inspections, sewer scopes. If you have a septic tank, they'll do a septic test, a well test if you have a well. If you currently have oil as your heat source, or you did in the past, they may want to do an oil tank sweep to make sure that there's not an underground oil tank buried in the yard somewhere. So there's a lot of inspections that a buyer can do at their own expense. During that due diligence time period, they're more than likely not going to do all of those things, but there's a lot that they can do. So of course, not every buyer, like I said, will get all of those things done, but they're going to have the opportunity to. And so if something is discovered, then the buyers can back out. They can ask you to remedy those things, but either way, if the buyer backs out, then you'll start at square one. So my opinion is honesty is the best policy. If there's a material defect in your home, it is best to disclose it or make the repair. Save money by selling as is. There's some exceptions to this, but generally, while many buyers in this market will oftentimes agree to as is, if you market it as such off the bat, it may deter buyers because they may assume something is wrong with it and decide just to move on to the next house because they don't even want to be bothered with that. So that is a thing. I wouldn't advertise it as is. Number 5, what not to do. Don't wait until after it's on the market to sell or remove old furniture. Staging is important, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. If there's old furniture or too much furniture, it's best to remove it prior to the professional photographer's photo shoot. I do professional photographer shoots, but again, not every realtor operates the same way. So either way, the realtor takes pictures themselves. Before the pictures are taken, make sure all the old furniture and excess furniture is gone. And don't wait till it's already on the market. Number 6, plan to limit showing access by tight showing windows, allowing the pets to roam free. No. Limiting showing access is never a good strategy, in my opinion. In this market, you want as many people in the home as possible, given, you know, it's probably only going to be a 3 to 5 day time frame, again, in this market. So I encourage my clients to, if they're able to, you know, go away for the weekend, stay with family, you know, get a hotel and take a short little getaway. You know, take the kids, take the pets, let the agents show the home all weekend. So even allow your listing agent to do an open house that weekend. I believe it's best. The buzz of all the showings and the line of people out the door to see the house during the open house will create that urgency for buyers to make a super strong offer and to do it quickly. So I listed a home recently. The home needed a lot of work. It was a special situation where the sellers did have to sell it as is. But, you know, we did a great job with marketing, and we did an open house, and we priced it pretty competitively. So we put it up for, honestly, a little high in my opinion, but we wanted, again, in this market, you can kind of play around with that a little bit. So we listed it, we had an open house, and because it was in a pretty desirable area, there was a lot of people in the house. The open house, it was 2 hour long, and there was at least 3 people in the home at all times. So one particular buyer was there during the busiest time. There was at least 5 families in the home at that time. What he didn't know is that everyone left that home saying it needs too much work and I'm not interested. But because he didn't know that, and because he saw all the buzz and all these people coming in and out of the open house, he was the only person to make an offer, and yet he made it over asking because he thought, oh, this is a house that's getting a lot of traction. I better make a really good offer and I better make it fast. So just a little example of how it's my experience in this market. Open houses do help, and limiting showing access is only a detriment. Okay, so now that we've gone through things not to do, then what do we do? So first